We begin with Boba once again in the bacta tank, and this time in the flashback, he is riding a bantha to Jabba's palace which has been taken over by Bib Fortuna. It is here that we see Boba scouting out to see whether or not he can recover his ship, but upon realizing that there were too many guards, he decides to head back. As night falls, it is here where we discover the Banthas are strangely enough carnivorous, which is really crazy if you think about it. Either that or Boba somehow managed to convert and override the animal's biology. Then we see two white flares shoot up in the night sky, and this is the exact same moment in Season 1 of The Mandalorian where Mando and the Corellian bounty hunter are attempting to capture Fennec Shand, and so we are seeing this happen from a distance. Boba stumbles upon Fennec just like we see in The Mandalorian and goes off to try and save her once he recognizes who she is. Recognizing her as an asset, he heads to a nearby mod parlor where a man makes modifications on her to save her life. It is also presumably the case that the mods Boba hired in the previous episode all had their works done here. As Fennec wakes up, Boba offers her a black melon. He then goes on to say that it takes some time to get used to it, but in time you will crave it, demonstrating that Boba himself has really adopted the Tusken way of life. As Fennec inquires as to who he is, and Boba Fett says,
"I am Boba Fett."
You can see the recognition in her eyes, and the fact that she did not really recognize him before this is most likely due to the fact that before the Sarlacc pit, Boba hardly ever took off his helmet. She then goes on to say that Boba is dead, indicating that much time has passed since the events of the Sarlacc pit. Boba then goes on to say what happened to the Tuskens was his fault, as they got massacred by the speedbikers. Fennec then says,
"Speedbikers defeated Tuskens? That's highly unlikely."
Which is indeed true if you think about it. The Tuskens know the desert better than anyone, and while the Niktos have better technology, they are hardly a smart bunch. What this is probably suggesting is that the Pikes probably framed the whole incident on the bikers, leading Boba Fett to seek revenge, and potentially removing more obstacles in their way to total domination on Tatooine. Also suggesting that the Pikes have planned this for a long time, and now that Boba has killed Bib Fortuna, there is nothing standing in their way except Boba, of course. Boba then says,
"Help me recover my fire spray gunship."
He is of course referring to the Slave One, but calling it the Fire Spray Gunship actually refers to the model of the ship rather than its name, and moving forward it will likely be referred to by its model name rather than Slave One, and this is because of, well... As the two try and recover the gunship, Fennec sends a probe droid to scout the location, much like how Maul used probes to find the Jedi in The Phantom Menace, also on Tatooine. As the two wait for the probes to return, Boba then declares his intention to take Bib's throne, which surprises Fennec. Boba then explains how the Tuskens have changed him, to which Fennec points out that bounty hunters don't leave this life easily. As the two head in sneakily, they both end up in the kitchen, where we see two droids cooking. One of the droid here might look familiar because this is EV-9D9, the same droid who appeared in The Return of the Jedi. When we last saw her, she was the head of all the droids in Jabba's palace, a sort of overseer. But here we see her in the kitchen, suggesting that she might have been demoted under Bib Fortuna, and this could be due to the fact that Jabba's downfall was partly caused by R2-D2, who helped free Luke. And so Bib may have demoted this droid due to her incompetency. Then we also see a six-handed armed droid, and as Boba knocks out EV-9D9 easily, the next droid immediately heads into an attack stance, mirroring that of General Grievous.
You are a bold one.
And the droid even spins his arm around just like the Separatist general. But of course, unlike the Separatist general, the droid was easily taken out by Fennec Shand. Then another droid walks in holding a net, and this is because a few scenes ago, one of the droids states that it will contact the rat catcher.
More rats?
I will contact the rat catcher.
And I guess this is the rat catcher. The droid that gives Boba trouble is an LEP servant droid and were used by the Confederate officials during the time of the Clone Wars. As the duo head into the hangar where the ship was parked, the alarm sounds and a firefight ensues. Fennec shoots a gonk droid which explodes, killing a few of Bib's men. As the two manage to escape, Fennec states that there are good mechanics in Mos Eisley that could repair his ship, referring to Pelimoto. Boba then goes on a killing spree, emerging from the background in the sky, swooping down on his prey much like an eagle. And with the Slave One, the Niktos stand absolutely no chance, and Boba Fett is absolutely ruthless, a hint that his old self is still hidden in there somewhere. Boba then flies back to the Sarlacc pit in search for his armor, thinking that it's still down there. As he tilts the ship and drifts closer to the mouth of the Sarlacc then surprises everyone, including me. Revealing that the beast is not dead, contrary to what we thought in the beginning of the show. As the beast grabs onto the Slave One, Fennec triggers the release for the seismic charge, and as the bomb falls into the mouth of the Sarlacc, it detonates, giving the iconic sound of the bomb. Which is a super sick scene. Later that night, Boba attempts to recruit Fennec after giving his reasons to walk away from the bounty hunting life, but Fennec is hesitant and states that,
But I'm an independent contractor, but I value my freedom.
But Boba rejects this and states,
I pledge my life to protect yours.
which kinda echoes much of his early life after losing his father at such a young age, and now with his recent experience with the Tuskens, Boba Fett is very much a changed man. As Boba climbs out of the bacta tank, we hear from the droid that his recovery process is now complete, returning him to his former self. Boba then asks Fennec about whether or not the Major Domo was talking, to which she responds with,
Oh, he's singing like a Yuzum.
The Yuzum are a lesser-known alien species that also lived in the forest moon of Endor. But the one Yuzum that Fennec is referring to in particular is Jaw Yowza, who used to be part of the band that performed with Max Rebo in Jabba's palace. Boba decides to head into town and show his face. He heads into Madame Garsa's sanctuary, where we find the Black Chrysanthemum drinking by himself, staring angrily at a group of Trandoshans. And there are a few reasons for this. For one, Trandoshans and Wookiees have always been mortal enemies, not to mention there is also the case of the early life of Black Chrysanthemum, where he killed an entire group of Trandoshan slavers to get what he wanted, so that's probably a good indication as to why he hates Trandoshans. He then proceeds to absolutely go ham on the Trandoshans, beating all of them into a pulp. Madame Garsa attempts to calm the Wookiee down by recalling his time as a gladiator and champion in the Death Pits, and this is indeed true. Chrysanthemum was a renowned fighter before becoming a bounty hunter. She then goes on to say that the days of the Death Pits are over and are now considered to be barbaric, most likely due to the changes and influences brought on by the New Republic. But Chrysanthemum doesn't care and proceeds to rip an arm off. This is very much a callback to the line,
It's not wise to upset a Wookiee.
But sir, nobody worries about upsetting a droid.
It's because a droid don't pull people's arms out of their sockets when they lose. Wookiees are known to do that.
in A New Hope. But the scene is also another reference to another scene in A New Hope, specifically in the Mos Eisley Cantina scene when Obi-Wan chops off the arm of Ponda. But while the Trandoshan has lost an arm, it's not that bad considering how Trandoshans have the ability to regrow it.
It was worth a shot.
Boba then goes on to talk to the Wookiee and proceeds to recruit him. We then cut to a scene where Boba talks to the three main crime families, and we see the Trandoshans, Aqualish, and Klatooinians. And it takes Boba some effort to convince the crime families to stay neutral, with some help of course. As the duo watch the rest of the crime families leave, Boba remarks that he needs more muscle, to which Fennec responds,
Credits can buy muscle, if you know where to look.
and it is in this moment where we can hear just a hint of the Mandalorian theme, potentially hinting at the return of Mando himself. So that's all for the breakdown of Chapter 4, and what an episode. Be sure to leave a like and comment down below. As always, I am the Lost Acolyte,
And I have spoken.